Welcome to the School of Wordcraft and Worldmancy. This is Feedback Frenzy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Feedback Frenzy here on Submit Saturday. Thank you so much for being here. We have a new article that we're going to be critiquing, and if you have 1,500 words, a fiction or a World Anvil article that you would like to have critiqued, please visit wgc.bz/submit, and your article could be featured in a future session. All right, let's get back to this. All right, so we have this article here. It is called Atlantis. Okay, the Atlantis settlement in Dazzlinkat's Twisted Mythology. Excellent. All right, so just taking a look at it, let's zoom out. Take a nice overview of the article. Okay. We have this beautiful image of a submerged archway. We have 3 different characters, legends. Okay, the content looks pretty straightforward. Good. Let's reset it. Okay, so this is a little bit of a challenge because this image is very large, and it would be hard to fix the ratio on this, because if you were to crop it, like, oops. So it's the fish took most of it. You'd lose the arch, you'd lose the framing. So this is a really good image, and I like the image as it is. The challenge again is that I can't see the title of the screen, but I don't know how you could crop this and still preserve the integrity or the effectiveness of the image. So yeah, it's a really, really nice image that you have here, and I love the framing arch. And if you were to crop the top third and the bottom third of this image, I don't think it would work as good. So yeah, it's a good image. All right, so let's look at the side. We have Oceanus, we have Poseidon, and we have Merfolk. So let's take a look at the content. What is Atlantis? Once upon a time, there was a great island beyond the Pillars of Hercules. It reached 345 miles east to west and 230 miles north to south. All of its north was mountains, as were most of its shores. Its inland was a great plain. A lone mountain sat within this plain. It was low on its sides, and the top was flat, save for gentle hills. Okay, all of its north was mountains, as well as were most of its shores. Okay, so it sounds like there's a ring of mountains around the island, but most of the island north were mountains. How much of the north? Like half of the north? All like when you say all of the north, I'm not really understanding what you mean by, like, is it like the top third, the top half? I'm not sure what north is meaning in this context, but I would probably, again, I would separate one idea per sentence, and the north was mountains, and then all of the shores around it were mountains. So I would actually make this a lot longer in 2 sentences to clarify that the shores of the island of Atlantis were rimmed with tall mountains, making it difficult to see within. The interior of the island was mostly plains, low plains, and the northern third or northern quarter were mountains. Or you could say that the plain covered the southern 2/3. You could work on stuff like that to provide it. Now, it was low on its side. Okay, so here now we have the mountain. Now, this is talking about geography, so yeah, you could keep it in the same paragraph. A lone mountain sat within this plain. It was low on its sides, and the top was flat, save for gentle hills. Then that's not a mountain, that is a plateau. So you could just say a tall plateau is found in the middle of it, because if the top is flat, it's a plateau. Mountains usually refer to peaks. So, well, okay, but upon this low mountain was the palace of Oceanus, the Titan god of rivers. Okay, so how big of a plateau? Because if you're talking about like it's twice as wide as tall, yeah, that's definitely a plateau. But if you're talking like 80% of it is mountain and only the little tiniest bit is flat for the palace, then yeah, I could see that being called a mountain. It would, so I guess it just depends on what imagery you're trying. But when you said that you had gentle hills on the top, I'm thinking plateau still. Surrounded it with 3 circular moats, each one wider than the one before. Between the canals and around the palace, a beautiful city grew. The walls of the buildings were red, white, and black stone. Okay. Canals were dug in a strange river that spiraled slowly up to the first moat, then flowed uphill, and the other flowed down. One flowed? Okay. Canals were dug in a strange river that spiraled slowly up to the first moat. Okay, the strange river or a canal? What, you have 2 nouns that you have in this sentence, so I'm not sure what is spiraling, whether it is the canals that was dug or the strange river. And then one flowed uphill and the other flowed downhill. Okay, this one is acting like a pronoun, so I don't know to what I still don't know if we're referring to the canals or the strange river, or which one applies. The canals flowed uphill and the river flowed downhills. I'm not sure. Down below, canals were dug that reached out to the sea, one for the upflowing canal and another for the downflowing canal. Thus, ships could sail from the ocean to the beauteous city surrounding Oceanus's palace. Okay, it's rough writing. Okay, but hey, you can't edit a blank page. I love what you're doing here. I like the idea of the magic of the water flowing uphill, and that's definitely a strange river. And now ships could sail to the city. Yeah, that's a really cool idea. More canals stretched from the low mountain to the other mountains. Roads came down the mountain from cities to the canals. These cities were built around mines, and all of them had at least one mine that dug for the most precious orichalcum. Tooltip. These smaller cities were each ruled by kings of great and marvelous power. They formed a confederation of kings beneath Oceanus. Okay. The legend. Atlantis was a fertile island rich with culture and trade. Oceanus ruled his confederation of kings as a just and caring god, building a grand empire upon his island. Atlanteans sailed the coasts of the Mediterranean, expanding their trade. Okay, good paragraph. It was not until they began sailing the seas north and south, exploring the coasts of Europe and Africa, that things began to change. Poseidon ruled the deep oceans and had no interest with the Mediterranean or Atlantis. But with the Atlanteans sailing his water, this changed. Poseidon came to Atlantis where he became to covet Oceanus's empire. Okay, so I think that's began to covet instead of became. To appease the god of seas, Oceanus introduced him to the not yet married daughters of the kings. Choose one daughter to be yours, Poseidon, Oceanus offered. I don't want one, Oceanus, I want them all. Preposterous! These are my people, and one woman is more than fair. What I cannot have, I will take, Poseidon roared back. Okay, good. Great use of dialogue, of an inset of fiction. Fiction to have within this article. It was war between the two gods. The very earth quaked, knocking down buildings, mountainsides crumbled, and mines collapsed. Then the island began to sink beneath the sea. Oceanus fought valiantly to try and save, S-A-V-E, his people and his island, but Poseidon proved too powerful and treacherous. Treacherous? Treacherous implies that there was treason. Poseidon is not subjected to the rule of Oceanus. He's not one of his subjects, so I don't know what he's done that was treasonous. Proved too powerful. So I kind of like the double description. I do that a lot. Why use one word when you can use 2 or 3 words to describe? But depending on, it's a great opportunity to describe Poseidon, and I'm not sure if treacherous is the correct word. Yeah, I wrote it fast because summer camp. Fair enough. Fair enough. The island sank to the bottom of the sea, its people drowned or killed by the quaking island. I am so sorry about the yawns. Mighty waves crashed and splashed about the Mediterranean, even reaching so far inland as to nearly drown the pyramids of Egypt. When the sea settled, no amount of prayers could reach the benevolent Oceanus, as Poseidon had dragged him away to Kython, where he locked him in the vile abyss, Tartarus. Interesting. The real history. Atlantis was indeed a fertile island, rich with trade. Giants ruled humans who were forced to toil beneath cruel masters. Displease their masters, and they would be the master's next meal. The city of Atlantis was the most beauteous city on the island. Beauteous? I don't know, just beautiful? And home to Atlantis, who ruled his giants with an iron grip. The confederation of giant kings bowed to him and revered him for the opulence his harsh rule brought them. As Poseidon rose and forged his mantle of power, he contested with Oceanus. These skirmishes were minor, but rumbled the world. Finally, the day came when Zeus gathered his fellow young gods and declared it was time to break the rule the Titans held over them and the mortals. Poseidon faced off against Oceanus. Their battle, okay, wrong there, They apostrophe there, no, there, Thier, as in possess, the possessive there. Their battle raged across Atlantis, which quaked from their battle. Oh, EIR. Buildings fell, mountainsides crumbled, mines collapsed. But their fight did not make the island sink. That came from the battle of the other gods, cracking through, OUGH, through the world. Poseidon asked for a truce so they could save the mortals, and Oceanus laughed. He cared nothing for neither his giants or their human slaves. After all, he could just get more. The battle changed after that. Poseidon fought with more determination than ever, and he made a choice. The giants who were all still fighting with Oceanus flung off the island. Okay, this lot of rewording needs to happen with it. Okay, like Poseidon flung the giants. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, the giants, they were fighting with Oceanus, and he flung them off the island. Okay, so I'd probably rework that sentence somehow. It is advisable, like ProWriterAid, my grammar checker, if you start a sentence, 3 sentences with the same word in a row, it flags that as something that needs to be addressed for style. Like, Poseidon did this, Poseidon did that, Poseidon did this. It would see that. So I always try to avoid that in my fiction writing and sometimes my nonfiction writing, depending on how much emphasis I want to put. If I blatantly want people to see a pattern in the sentences, then I ignore that rule or I ignore that suggestion. So it's good that you're not saying Poseidon did this, Oceanus did this, because that could get a little boring. I like how you're switching it up here. However, this sentence, is still, look, like the giants still fighting with Oceanus were flung off the island by Poseidon. Maybe that would work. They splashed down miles and miles away from Atlantis and left to sink or swim on their own. At the same moment, he began to change all the humans to survive beneath the waves and held the island together as it sank. Okay, who's the he? We have the new paragraph, so we can't use a pronoun in the sentence because we're starting over. So who changed the humans? I'm presuming Poseidon did. Oceanus, weaker now without his giant army, did not consider that and charged Poseidon. Considered what? Thinking the Olympian was too distracted to fight with strength. It was a mistake. Poseidon skewered Ovianus. Okay, we got a typo there. Ovianus. On his trident. On his trident or with his trident? And pinned him to the ground and returned to saving the island as it fell to the bottom of the sea. Once island landed on the seafloor, and the billowing silts settled, Poseidon left. He took Oceanus with him to Chthon, where he kicked him off his trident and down into the terrible abyss, Tartarus. That done, he joined the other Olympians until the rest of the Titans were defeated, and the war was over. Only then did he return to Atlantis to rebuild and guide his new merfolk in how to live beneath the sea. Upon the low mountain, he took over the temple and made it his. Okay, I really like the story that you're telling here, the two versions of the story. It is interesting, though, that the legend point makes Poseidon the bad guy, where the real history, it's Oceanus who is the bad guy. Interesting choice there, making the reality and the fairy tale so separate. I like how I like how he took over. He was, we now know why it sank. We know why he lives in that castle. We know how the castle got built. I don't really know much about the new merfolk except they're human. So, did Atlanteans become mermaids? Or did Atlanteans stay four-limbed humanoids? Not sure. And how long did it take for Poseidon to return back? Or how much time did he have to help the process of, adapting to a life under the sea, as opposed to, did he leave him alone for 5 years to figure it out? That would stink. So I just, a little bit more detail on that. This is cool. Okay, so let's go through the ABCs. The awesome, the content and the contrast of the legend and the real history. Bored? No. It was good, and I think it had great details. Confused. As much as it had great details, some of the points were a little confusing, but that was mostly a grammatical issue and, rephrasing sentences. Delete. I wouldn't delete anything. Expand. I would probably expand a little bit about not the content, but some of the sentences describing the content, being more descriptive of what is happening, so we have a clearer picture of the canals, what happened before, how it was, and how the real history. And it might be fun to see how on earth did the real history become so changed that the legend has the wrong bad guy, has the bad guys and the good guy switched. Because I totally in the legend, I thought Poseidon was the bad guy, because what I cannot have, I will take. Yeah, that sounds like a bad guy. But that character being built up in the mythology section doesn't match what I read in the world history. So that's my ABCD evaluation. But good job. I do like that. And thank you so much, Dazzlinkat, for submitting this article. If you'd like to have your article featured on a future Submit Saturday or Feedback Frenzy, please visit wgc.bz/submit, and we can see it again next time. Thank you so much, and keep on writing.
Thanks for watching this Feedback Frenzy. Be sure to show your support by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell. WriterGreg offers coaching sessions to help bring your world to life, create compelling stories, and accomplish your creative goals. Please please visit wgc.bz/coaching for more details.